disc model. We are noticing some hot spots, maybe with the sentence frames, but then we're also assigning our must-dos, could-dos, and extensions. So when you look at your exit ticket, you're looking to see, okay, so I know that they have to be able to label a place value chart, and I know that they have to be able to understand those bundles and shifts. So I'm gonna assign problems that support them in that. So number 1 would be a must-do, okay? The second part of my exit ticket, number 2, there's that verbal statement, of that multiplicative comparison statement. So I wanna make sure that I assign a must-do out of my problem set to match that portion of my exit ticket. And I even wrote must do, and then I wrote the standard and what component of the standard is being addressed. Okay? So the final component of our exit ticket was the verbal statement. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I assigned another problem that it must be a must do, because I wanted to make sure they had practice with number 3 on the exit ticket within the problem set. So there's that verbal statement of comparison. They have to explain, if you see that they have, I know I have 2 bundles of 10s, I know I can make fair trades, you're talking about the conceptual understanding, and we're having them write it out. When you look at the back of the problem set, that's when you see your could-dos. Number 4 is a could-do, because it's similar to number 3, so that's just an extension if they need to practice more. Number 5 is a could-do because it's similar kind of to number 2, so that's an extension of that, number 2. And then number 6 is just an extension problem altogether, because that's where they're applying their knowledge. When we're selecting, you have a question?
Yes. So, like, who's expected to get to the extension problem? Would it be like our higher level kids who's already showing mastery, or is it like an early finisher for just...
If they finish early, I would say yes, let them try it, because we always want to push their thinking. We always want them to know that they can do things that are challenging, because when they're being challenged, they're actually learning, right? So if they finish early, then I always say, yeah, go do number 6, or go do that extension problem, see what you can produce.
Okay.
But for our strong students who, you might get a student next week that's been doing Eureka for 3 years, and they have this down, they're probably going to be able to push a little further. So keep those students in mind. You hit it exactly right. Those strong kids can make it there.
Is there problems that we do together, like that the teacher would model from
On
the
the
problem
problem
set?
set? Not usually. The problem set is more of their independent work time. Within that concept development, and we'll talk about that, so I'm glad you brought that up, that's where we're going to do our I do and our we do, okay? So always noticing, guys, ladies, I'm pointing out the standard, I'm pointing out, where it connects, I'm pointing out understanding that the kids need, because I'm constantly thinking about how to support the kids through this lesson. Okay. So once your exit ticket's done, once your problem set's done, you've done made all your connections, you've used these questions to kind of guide you through, then you're ready to dive into the remaining components of the lesson.
So we're starting from the exit ticket, working our way up.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's backwards design. And I did talk with Ms. Harrison about backwards design. That is something she kind of brought in like year 1 when she came.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to start thinking about bringing it back, because if we know where we're going, we know how to plan and we know how to instruct to make sure we get the kids there. We know what the expectations are. We know what the questions are going to look like. We know the thinking that we need to incorporate.
Okay.
So always do your fluency. You want to have this done just because you want to be able to go through it quickly with them when they do it.
And I have a question about the fluency. I know like each time Eureka does the sprints, it's like a different one each time. Some of them kind of are similar. But I was wondering, like, is it wrong to like say, okay, but I want you guys to do this one again? Because I, as the teacher, might feel like they need extra practice with just that. Like, I know, for example, one of ours was like the twos patterns for the multiplication facts. And I wanted to like copy that and make them do it like 3 days instead of just that one. Would that be wrong? Should I just be following what
No,
Eureka
I
stays
want
with us?
you all to be okay with customizing because
Okay.
you know the kids and you know their strengths and their weaknesses. So if we think about that, adding that additional fluency, that's a gap closer,
Mhm.
right? So that's one thing that we're gonna think about when we're trying to address the gaps that our kids
Okay.
have. We wanna build in extra fluency,
Yes,
okay?
okay.
Yeah.
So it is totally okay if you know we don't even have our twos down and we're not recognizing twos and threes and fours and
Right.
sixes are gonna be that much harder, right?
Okay.
So, build in the fluency where you need it. That's a part of addressing the kids and meeting them where they need and building them and scaffolding them.
Because not even every lesson has a sprint.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So you can take a
Fill it
little
in.
extra time,
Okay.
do it again, and just think too, if by the third time, they're gonna have some success.
Mhm.
They're gonna see, oh, I'm getting it, I'm getting farther, and then they can even have a conversation with their friend. Well, on day one, I only got 5 done, but look, now I did 25.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we
Okay.
want them to feel successes because we're all feeling a struggle right now.
Yeah.
Teachers, students, principals, district, we're all feeling it.
Okay.
So do those, and think about, is this maintenance? Is it preparation? Like what kind of fluency is it? And remember the lesson plan template she sent you guys?
Mhm.
Yes.
It's on there, the little components of
I
fluency.
saw that, I was wondering what that meant.
That's what
Okay.
it is, that's
All
what
right,
it is.
perfect.
So then you're in your debrief, right? And so this is gonna have to be kind of a twofold approach. You wanna assign, or you wanna, definitely, this is an opportunity for student discourse, okay? We want the kids to talk about the math as much as they can, justify their thinking, explain their reasoning, all that good stuff. So when we choose the problems that Eureka has provided for us, we wanna make sure that we assign those problems in the problem set. Like if we didn't assign, okay, let's just use this one. If we didn't assign problem 5, we don't wanna ask that question because no one did it. So we wanna think about what questions are gonna give us our biggest bang for our buck and getting them to build their conceptual understanding through student discourse,
Okay.
okay? So if you can see too, like what relationship do you notice? That's a mathematical practice, right? That's patterns. Or we want them to talk about the patterns that they noticed or the connections they made. I pointed out, so we want them to, if we choose to do completing these statements, this is a hot spot probably for some kids.
Yeah.
Their language is something they're developing, Eureka language is something they're developing, so point that out to yourself. Point out where the struggles are gonna be, because if you know them, you're gonna address them
Okay.
from the beginning.
Would this also be like if, when we're reviewing the problem set, like are we checking the answers off with the kids? And
You can ask those questions when you're in the problem set. Because you gotta remember, we always want a clear beginning, middle, and end to a lesson. And this is kind of bringing it all home
Mhm.
before we say, okay, so now let's exit out and let's see what you can produce for me.
Okay.
Then we're into the concept development, okay? This is where usually there are very few lessons, ladies, where there's only 1 or 2. I find like those word problems lessons when it's just strictly word problems, the problem set is usually the concept development. So that's when you would probably do some of the concept development with the kids because it's so connected in those word problem lessons.
Mhm.
But normally you have a good, 4 to 5 problems from the concept development. What I was really successful with was always modeling the exemplar. I always wanted them to see, this is the most you're gonna do during this lesson. Can you do it? Where do you feel like you might struggle? What was really easy? What did you connect with? And really get them thinking right away from the beginning. And when you're modeling, especially right now, because we're gonna work on the model with you ladies, we do kind of want them to just stay quiet, markers down, whiteboards, not touching. They are truly all eyes and ears on you. You are doing a really comprehensive brain purge on what you're thinking. You're going to verbalize every component of it, and you're really going to think aloud your process and the way you work through the math, okay? So if you look all over this lesson, you can see, here's MP1 coming into play. I know that they need to label the place value charts. That might be a hot spot for some kids that don't know their place value yet. This is a part, it says in problem 5, after you do the model, let's discuss